Whatever. Okay, I just
You
pressed the
do
button.
whatever feels right.
Okay, we are live. Hello, everybody. Impromptu Wednesday night podcast recording. This is the YouTube version. I guess this won't be the start of the actual podcast. But hey, I got Louis Ezekiel from Short Shifts. I brought in some big guns here. Talk some fantasy hockey. How's it going, man?
I'm doing great.
Yeah,
I need to I need to
save the
mute the
good
stream
intro for
here.
the real show.
Yeah, absolutely.
I see. Yeah. You guys just get the I'm doing great for the pre-show, but then Lewis will give like the full like, oh, my family's doing this, and like the
Yeah, the
weather in
whole
Michigan
update.
is like so.
I'll try not to laugh too much. I can tell them
Are
all
you?
about
Oh,
whatever
so you're
this
not.
disease that my toddler brought home from daycare.
Oh no,
I took all my COVID tests. I'm fine from that regard. Although
may I recommend?
I wouldn't mind 10
Oh, go
days
ahead.
off of work, I suppose.
Yeah, is that how? Oh yeah, because you're a teacher, so you can't really work remotely if no one else is.
Well, I could, we kind of learned that over the last year, but
But if everyone was going to school, they'd be okay with you just like.
well, no, you still need a warm body in the room. And frankly,
Yeah.
if I'm not gonna use my paid time off to call into class from distance. So, uh anyway, yeah,
All
it's
right, so
fine.
let's
It's as much work to miss it as it is to be there. So
Oh, I hear you. Yeah, with the prepping and stuff. So hey, did you want to grab a cup of water or something before we start, or you just want to
no,
give it a
I will
go?
be all right. I've got it under control.
All right. So let's just start the show. See how it goes.
Let's do it.
All right. What's up, champs? Hello, everybody. Welcome to a bonus, what do we call it? Impromptu episode of Keeping Carlson. I guess short shifts. We'll figure this out as we go along. Basically, we had nothing planned for this week, but I'm itching to talk fantasy hockey, and so I've brought in one of the big guns, your friend from short shifts, the great Louis Ezekiel. Louis, how are you on this fine Wednesday evening?
Doing great, as a Jack Roslovic roster in the one league where I'm still hanging in there, I am continuing to reap the reward of his excellent deployment and play. So I'm enjoying that in the limited games we have here on Wednesday.
Man, yeah. So the plan for this show, I think, is we're just gonna bounce around some box scores. And this isn't like we're thinking long-term analysis in terms of like even strength, like shooting percentage or anything like that, right? We're just looking at who's hot right now, what are the lines, who's injured. I think we're just gonna chat for a half an hour, and we can start right, yeah, with this game that's going on right now. There's a minute left. The Blue Jackets are beating the Habs 5-1. And yeah, Jack Roslovic having himself a game, 2 goals, 5 shots. I mean, we said it on the podcast a bunch of times since Bunchaner got injured. Roslovic has taken over on the top line. He's playing with Line and Nyquist today. Also, he wasn't necessarily getting top power play time, and he still hasn't been. Like even though it seems like maybe he should be, but regardless, I guess he's producing. So yeah, I'm just bringing it up now. I got to bring up the schedule here because I think a lot of our advice is going to have to be really tailored to what's going on this week and next week. As far
For
as this
sure.
week goes, you've already if you don't have Roslovic, you've already missed today. But Columbus does play Saturday, Sunday, so he's definitely someone you might want to consider. Sunday, the day that you might have a space for him, they're against Anaheim. Not so bad. That's a pretty good ad actually.
Absolutely. And especially if you keep shooting like you and Brian were talking about on the Sunday show, like that's the indicator that you want to see, obviously. And he's feeling confident right now. It seems like those shots are continuing to come and they're finding the back of the net. What's interesting is there were some people sort of debating whether you can have such a thing as a good trade. Like, the goal of a trade is to make your team better. And can you really have it happen with both teams? But it seems like that Columbus and Winnipeg trade really kind of worked out well for everybody. Roslovic surprisingly effective. He was just sort of like a throw in that deal. And then PLD and Line both having kind of a renaissance this season.
Yeah, last year it looked like both sides lost the trade. Like
Definitely.
both players.
The early returns were awful.
It was kind of funny. It's like you both didn't win. You both lost. It was just Roslovic was the only good one. But yeah, this year. And by the way, Line also having a big game today, a goal and 2 assists. I guess that's what happens when you're playing with the great Jack Roslovic. By the way, I just want to put it out there right now. I'm in a new setup. I'm in a new house, and I'm not exactly sure how I'm going to set up my microphone and the computer and everything. So if I sound echoey or something, I'm going to re-listen to the show after. And so this is an experimental show in many ways, both in terms of throwing together something last minute and in terms of my sound quality. I know probably most people are like, I don't care, I'll just get back to it. But I just wanted to throw that out there. But
Yeah,
Louis,
the
you sound
audio.
great as always.
Well, thank you. The audio heads like you can hear, every little detail. For people like me who spent 8 years with trombones blasting into the back of my head, I don't pick up on those little details. Unfortunately, I rely on you to tell me what you hear.
Yeah, after the fact. And I'm like, can you, whatever, tweak this thing? So some other players having big games today for Columbus, because maybe if you're in a super deep league and you can't get Jack Roslovic, we've got Emil Bemstrom with a goal and an assist, and Cole Sillinger with a goal and an assist, and then Nyquist. I guess Nyquist is the obvious one. It's like Line, Nyquist, Roslovic. So obviously they're all just clicking together on one line. And then, yeah, we've got Bemstrom and Sillinger giving the production from the guys that are like 0% rostered. If we look at the lines, they're on the same line actually with Jacob Voracek. So we're looking at like second liners. It's not exactly people like getting completely buried. It's not like they're getting like low ice time and have lucked into goals. Bemstrom's played now. The game's over. So according to this ESPN, unless they haven't updated the ice time yet, we've got 15 and a half minutes for Bemstrom, 15 and 20 seconds for Sillinger. Obviously, Sillinger is like the high pedigree first round prospect that's going to be hopefully a big star for Columbus. But this year, he's probably still like a fringe guy in terms of fantasy in the short term. But yeah, he and Bemstrom, if you're in your deep league, again, I guess Sunday, they're also guys to look at. Bemstrom's actually available in my Dynasty League where no one's available. But he's been generally pretty boring after at one point we thought he would maybe have a future, but maybe a strong end of season will boost his value.
Yeah, it could be. I think that, yeah, even if like you say, almost everybody in that dynasty league is picked up. So maybe even like a good showing just can be something that you can flip them for.
Yeah, I think that, so that's the Columbus coverage. If we go to the Habs here on the other side of this game, obviously everyone was rushing to grab every single Hab because of their great schedule this week. Unlike Winnipeg, there wasn't a game schedule, there wasn't a game postponed, so you're actually hopefully going to get all 4 of these Habs games, though not great returns today. There was a Ryan Paling power play goal. I'm sure no one had him. And then Hoffman and Suzuki got the assist. So yeah, we mentioned on the show, obviously, like Suzuki's rostered and Hoffman would have been a decent grab. But aside from that, I was bummed to see my guy, Jeff Petrie, not give me what I've been getting used to. A point, like a bunch of shots today. No shots. Oof. 3 blocks, I guess I'll take it, but
yeah, a few peripherals, but not what you were hoping for, definitely, on that Sunday show.
Yeah, okay, so that's it for this game. I wanted to look at some other... Okay, I guess let's stick with today. The Rangers have shut out Philly 4-0. Man, Lewis, I was looking at Georgiev all day, thinking that's such a tasty stream. I was like, oh, maybe I should save my moves. What if someone gets injured? Maybe I should save it for Sunday. I'll grab a goalie then. I don't think I could have done better, though. A 28-save shutout over the hapless Flyers, who just have more and more injuries piling up every day. Like, they already lost Giroux. Like, they're already shorthanded. And then today, Ristolainen, Atkinson... Carter Hart. Hart's out for the season, by the way.
That's what they said it sounds like. Yep. That's so, I mean, anytime you're going to go up against Philly, you already were looking pretty good. But yeah, with Hart out, a better chance certainly at getting a win. It was Felix Sandstrom today, I believe, after Martin Jones went yesterday, and just got torn up, obviously. Was it 9 goals in the end in that game from Tuesday? I think it was.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it was terrible.
Yeah,
I think definitely in fantasy you want to be like picking up players playing Philly. Actually, let's take a look. So they play again Saturday, Sunday against Buffalo twice. So Buffalo was already a team with a good schedule this week, but another reason to like maybe potentially load up on your. Obviously, you want Thompson, Tuck, and oh man, blanking again.
I think Olofsson has really
Skinner.
been on a roll lately.
Sorry. Oh, sorry. Let me just finish. Thompson, Tuck, and Skinner, your top liners. But yeah, there's a bunch of other guys on Buffalo that maybe become even more valuable because of this game against Philly this weekend, 2 of them.
Yeah, Olofsson is a guy that I think has really turned out lately. It was a very Elon situation where I finally parted ways with him and he really took off. I even accidentally left him benched for his 1 goal, 1 assist game, a few weeks back. And then he's kind of been fire ever since then. So yeah, I think Olofsson is a guy that I'm kind of interested in on a bit of a heater right now. And certainly, playing against whichever goalie Philly can muster, I think is a pretty appealing matchup for sure. And like you said, I mean, they are enormously shorthanded. A ton of their scoring is missing. I didn't know that, Georgiev was going to start for sure today, but it seemed like a risk that was definitely worth taking before anybody else managed to grab him, just because, I mean, we saw the results, right? It was not a ton of dangerous offense outside of, some good work in the first period and ultimately getting the shutout.
Yeah, that would have been a good stream for sure. I wish I did it. Ugh, too wimpy. And yeah, as far as Philly goes, I mean, come on. Like at this point, just drop everyone, right? Like I would have thought Atkinson was worth holding, but now that he's injured, so yeah, you stash him. But even though they have a Sunday game coming up, so you might have room. Like, are you really gonna hold like a Joel Farabee or a Travis Konechny or a JVR? Like, it just seems like this team could easily get. I mean, Buffalo. To be fair, Buffalo's not a super strong competitor, but Philly just looks done. I don't know. I'm not excited about anyone on Philly right now. I think they could
Yeah.
get shut out again. Grab Craig Anderson.
Maybe if you're hoping for some of those peripheral stats that you get when your team is way behind and you get some hits and some blocks because you don't control the puck and are just being shot at a lot, maybe that's a good way to go. Maybe there'll be some pims as they try to stand up for themselves. But yeah, if you are looking for goals, assists, plus minus, look elsewhere. That power play won today. Sanheim, Brink in his second NHL game, Konechny, Farabee, Hayes. That's rough.
Yeah, Shams is saying, well, Hayes and Provorov are getting decent points. Like, yeah, like I guess I'm looking at this like new look Philly if like Atkinson and Cam York and all these extra people are also injured. Like at some point you just kind of run out of steam, Ristolainen. And yeah, like I'm sure someone will get a point. It's just like I wouldn't want to be depending on this team. I feel like they're a potential shutout candidate. But yeah, Sanheim is like because he did have 3 blocks today, and he's like you said on the top power play. So as far as like deployment, and he's been getting some points recently. Like it's not as if Sanheim has been doing nothing. So I feel like I guess him and Provorov. Well, yeah, I could see a reason to like grab a Philly player, but I'm not like overly excited. Like Sanheim, maybe he scored a goal against Anaheim a couple games ago. I don't know. I guess I'm like over exaggerating how productive he's been. He's on top power play. He's getting blocks.
But just like the ripple effect too, like if that's what you can put out with your best possible unit, it really takes away chances, I think, up and down the lineup. So yeah, I would not be very excited about sending anybody out to try and earn some points, even Hayes and Provorov.
All right, let's jump to some games from yesterday. But let's start with Florida versus Anaheim because Florida is a team that plays Friday, Sunday coming up. So they're going to be a really good stream for the rest of this week. And these 3 goals by Florida, 2 from Anthony Duclair, because of course I dropped him in a couple, but like
yeah, that was
no one claimed him. Yeah, and also I like was thinking of adding him today. I couldn't think of anyone to drop, and then I guess I'll say lucky for me, he was taken, but not by my opponent. It was taken by Jeremy, who's in a consolation playoff matchup. So at least I don't have to worry about like getting beaten by my own player by Mark taking Duclair. But yeah, if he was dropped in leagues, because yeah, his schedule wasn't great last week. At this point, he scored 2 goals, so his rostership shot up. But I mean, it's not as if again he's not lucking into these goals. He's playing on a line with Barkov, and he's been on the top power play. They were running 5 forwards for most of the game. So Giroux, Huberdeau, Barkov, Reinhardt, and Duclair. So in your shallower leagues or like a tier 1 couple where he was dropped and people were too nervous to use their moves on him, he's an obvious grab.
Well, to be fair, I definitely would have been all over him if my roster was not locked. But sadly, after my fantastic swan song where I scored more points than I had in any match all season in my meaningless 5th place game, I was unable to add Duclair because my roster is locked these days, but I had my eye on him. I definitely would have jumped on him because I think that is a nice opportunity. And I just had that feeling, the Elon drop, boost is a real thing. Hunter in the chat celebrating the Georgiev pickup celebration. Good on you, Hunter. I was happy with that too. We had a question from Matthew also. Would you drop Oshie or Burakovsky, or Oshie for Roslovic or Burakovsky?
Sorry, so we're dropping Oshie for Roslovic or Burakovsky, or are we choosing who to drop?
That's the question. I think we're choosing drop Oshie and pick up one of those guys.
All right, so Oshie just had a game where he got a goal, I believe. Let me just bring up the Washington situation here. He was playing on.
They were the ones who scored 9 times against Philly.
Right. Okay. So I guess maybe that shouldn't count. We shouldn't put too much credit on Oshie. He was on a super cold streak. He had only 1 assist in 6 games, but then yeah, he did score a goal, but on only 1 shot. versus Philly. So Oshie, yeah, not especially appealing. Let's get that schedule up here. So Washington just goes Thursday, Saturday. So definitely if you don't even have space, and yeah, you could get Roslovic, who will give you a game on an off day. I think that makes sense. Like obviously
Yeah.
Oshie is still on the top power play, I believe. So there's obviously still the possibility. Yeah. Oh, Johansen, Mantha. Oh, that was Johansen, Tom Wilson, Mantha, and Ovechkin. Wow. Where was Kuznetsov in that game? He wasn't getting power play time. Am I having
Yeah,
something
I don't
wrong
know. I
here?
just get the sense that maybe once you're up by 5 or 6, you can kind of
Right.
just fool around and play games. So I don't know how seriously to take any of those deployments
Yeah,
necessarily.
that's fair. It's one of those things where it's like, I'll say yeah, it makes sense in with the schedule to drop Oshie for Roslovic, but it's not the kind of thing where I'm saying like there's no chance Oshie. Like he's TJ Oshie, right? He's probably gonna pace for 55-ish points for the rest of the season, but that's like on average, and we're talking like 1 or 2 games, so it's
Right.
kind of a coin flip. He could
Like
definitely have
Roslovic
a good game. Yeah.
probably will pace for a similar outcome, but he's hot right now, and he is probably pacing for considerably less right now. So he has got to bring his average up with some success on this hot line right now.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
also
I
I
mean,
guess I'll oh, go ahead.
no, you go. We'll just put an
Yeah,
edit
and
point
also
in there.
I think oh, okay. Yeah, and also, I mean, I'd rather have a guy playing with Patrick Laine than a guy playing with whatever it is, Anthony Mantha and Marcus Johansson. Like if even Nicholas Backstrom isn't in the lineup, that's another reason to not be too excited about TJ Oshie because he's not even playing with an awesome center. No offense to Marcus Johansson, of course.
Right. Well, and we did hear that they're going to kind of manage Backstrom's play moving forward and make sure they're not running him into the ground as they head towards the playoffs. So that situation may not change in the near future. So yeah, I'm into dropping Oshie for Roslovic or Burakovsky. Honestly, I might like Roslovic a little better just because of this heater that he's on.
Yeah, and then so I guess back to Florida again. Like probably Duclair isn't available. If you want to look at some other options, like Verhage is still also on the top line. He had an assist in that game, and then the one player that's been kind of quiet. He went on a run for a while is Anton Lundell, but he was injured then, and then he came back, and he's on this line with Sam Reinhart and Mason Marchment. And I'm just bringing him up right now, but I believe he has 3 points in 6 games since coming back from his injury, but only 2 shots over his last 2 games, just 1 shot in each game. And that one of those goals was on that in that game where he took only 1 shot. So I think he's like a fringe kind of guy. Like he's like not a typical third liner when you're playing with Sam Reinhart. It's like not that typical. And I think that Lundell's still getting decent ice time, yeah, around 15 minutes. So he'd be like your sort of lower end guy to maybe look for in free agency on Florida, I think.
Yeah, and definitely like if we're thinking about planning for next year too, like if we see some people, priced out maybe of Florida or who move on, that's a guy who could potentially move up the lineup and be pretty exciting. I think that he's had an excellent first season outside of missing some time for injuries and stuff. So that's a guy that you maybe want to have your eye on as a bargain, kind of end of the draft player to grab.
By the way, it turns out Matt's question was he was going to drop either Oshie or Burakovsky. I would hold Burakovsky because he's been playing on the top line with McKinnon and Rantanen, so that's just an amazing spot, and you don't want to let that go.
Yeah, you can let Oshie go, especially again, like you mentioned, with the schedule, he might not be getting into your lineup at all.
Yeah. Is it worth looking at the Anaheim side of this game? Derek Grant had a goal in this. Okay, that's getting probably too deep to dig into. I guess it's probably Trevor Zegras. Like, what happened to Ryan Getzlaf? I guess he's like not 100%. That he announced his retirement already. He's come back from this injury. He had a great run earlier this year, but now it seems like he's like not even rosterable anywhere.
Yeah, I don't think so.
All right, let's pick another game. Or yeah, people could also just ask questions in the chat here. That was actually fun to just answer Matt's question. Maybe that's what this random midweek show at the end of the season can evolve into, just answering questions while we look at box scores. How about St. Louis? They're a team that plays a couple times in the weekend. They played against Boston. They won 4-2. Another great outing for Ville Husso. I can't believe at one point at one point when I knew I had the buy, I was like, I'm going to just load up and get both Binnington and Husso because I'll probably get 2 games from each because I can't imagine Berube like giving up on Binnington. But now it seems like, last week was only like 1 game for Binnington out of the 4. My guess is it'll be the same this week. I guess they haven't announced Thursday's game yet, but Husso just continues to shine against a
Yeah,
strong Boston team. I guess they were without Pasternak, but still,
they
he's
were.
amazing.
Yeah, and Swayman too. I think if we can go into the other crease, he's really his the luster has definitely come off of him late in this season. He's had a bunch of 4 goal against games. I think the people who are kind of trying to rely on him have to be a little disappointed, especially because Olmark has outplayed him over the last month or so. So that's been a bit of a tough ride for the folks who are hanging their hats on Swayman there towards the end.
Yeah, good point. Yeah, I guess with the game tomorrow against Ottawa, you got to imagine Allmark's going to get the start there. And I think if he plays well, maybe he even gets the Saturday. So if you're low on goalies and Allmark is out there because he's not rostered in as many leagues as like a lot of other starters, he may be turning it. It might be like the Husso situation, right? Like we thought it was going to be 50-50, and now it might be turning into Allmark being the starter going into the playoffs. And I think a lot of people would have bet on Swayman to be the starter going into the playoffs. But yeah, you're right. Right now it's looking like it's Allmark.
Yeah, I think so too. And again, forward thinking a little bit, you have to. I would guess, especially given the contract situation, that we're going to have Olmark out the gate as the one at least 1A, in October.
Mm-hmm. So speaking of Boston, they play Ottawa on Thursday, and then I guess also speaking of goalies, so Boston plays Ottawa. I just added Anton Forsberg in the cupful on Tuesday, and he had a very nice game against your Detroit Red Wings, which
Wow.
is probably
High
a
five.
less scary. Yeah, yeah, maybe that's not worth so much, but he's been like really good. Like he had one bad game against the Rangers, and then maybe some people were thinking like, okay, time to just give up on Anton Forsberg. But if you look at his save percentages over the past couple of months, it's like very. I think that game against the Rangers was like his worst save percentage he's had. Everything else has been like 900 or higher. And now they go against Boston, which seems like a scary start, but Pasternak is out, right? So it's not the most scary. Like it's still Boston, but they were running like Bergeron, Marchand, DeBrusque, and then Howla, Taylor Hall, and a fellow named Mark McLaughlin. So I wonder if he's gonna stick. We used to have a patron named Matt McLaughlin who was
Oh yeah.
by. But anyway, yeah, Mark McLaughlin. I saw him on a list recently of one of the top like NCAA players. Now, but he hasn't done anything. But he's in a good spot, I guess. Well, is it? I guess when it's not
It's an
Pasternak,
all right
and that
spot.
second line isn't. Yeah, it's not as exciting.
Yeah,
And
Hall
then who was on
certainly
the top
hasn't
power
been.
play?
Yeah, I was gonna say Hall hasn't been nearly as exciting, obviously, with Pasternak out, and Halla has been still pretty solid. Like I think that's probably your winner free agent pickup for Boston, over the last few weeks. But yeah, that second line is not super exciting, especially when sorry, you can drop an edit point here. That second line just it loses a lot of its a punch, obviously, and that makes the first line less effective too, because you can really focus on it.
Yeah, definitely. And plus, they're playing against Anton Forsberg, a
Yeah,
man who cannot be beat. So maybe
something
they're
like
not so excited about my
17 games
what.
above 900 before that bad New York Rangers game. I think just like really quality start machine here.
Yeah, I mean, we might be at a point now where if Boston only plays Thursday, Saturday, and if you are full on those days, you need to figure out who you're going to drop to make room for adding like a Florida person or someone playing on one of those off days. I think aside from Bergeron and Marchand, I think you could probably let go. Taylor Hall was dropped in cupful. No one grabbed him for obvious reasons. This is the last week. I guess I could look. There are some people who actually tweeted us saying they're playing next week as well, which is fair. Brian and I will do a show on Sunday covering next week's schedule, which I haven't looked at all because all my leagues are going to be over after this week.
Sure.
Next week, Boston, 4 games. So okay, so maybe you could add Hall back though. I think you could let go of all your Bruins. Maybe old McAvoy, probably if you have room for D. Most people have room. Only
Oh yeah, got to give McAvoy credit. He's been really, really good to end the season.
Yeah. Okay. Let me check him out. He's like a player that I don't really pay as much attention to. I feel like I used to pay so much attention. We used to every week talk about is it Grishlik or McAvoy on the top power play, and now that he's sort of 12 points in his last 9 games. Wow. Okay. So if anyone's gonna help, almost all it looks like those are all assists, by the way.
A lot of them on the power play though. So if you get extra points for those power play assists, that's always good. Yeah, he was a guy that I the guy in my buddy league that I beat in the semis. I traded to get McAvoy from him, and then he just went off during our semifinal matchups. That was a nice battle there.
Also, I had a total brain fart. It was Ryan McLaughlin was that patron I was talking about, not Matt. I feel like I know someone named Matt McLaughlin also.
Well, we have lots of Matts, and lots of Ryans. Sometimes it's tough to keep them all straight. No offense to the many excellent Matts and Ryans in the patron group.
Right. Let's go to Minnesota Edmonton. People in the chat here can just shout out a game that they want us to look into until we run out of time here. But yeah, yesterday Minnesota beat up on the Oilers 5-1. There was a funny situation yesterday where Yahoo had Koskinen marked as the starter, like at the start of the day, and I was trying to find because like Shams and I are out there retweeting goalie start announcements, and I couldn't find this Koskinen start. All I found was Mark Spector tweeting, being like, I think that Koskinen would probably play. It was like not based on anything, just speculation. And it's Sarah McLaughlin. Okay, Brian. Brian's here in the chat, by the way. Brian. Oh, anyway. Okay.
He's half playing. I think he and Matt are currently playing Chell right now, so I think we only have
That's
like
funny.
half their attention.
But yeah, so I was recommending to my brother was actually asking me. By the way, my brother Joel is in Tier 3 Binghamton finals. Like, so if he wins his matchup, he's losing right now to a friend of the show, Shane. But if he wins, he'll be in Tier 1 next year, which would be pretty wild. But anyways, he was asking me if he should add Koskinen, and I was like, I would wait until he's confirmed before you add him. And he was like, well, on Yahoo, he has a green check mark. And I was like, just wait. And then he like, because my brother's actually like a busy person, not like me. He has like a life outside of fantasy hockey. So then he messaged me after the game started being like, oh, I got busy with work and I didn't add him. Now he is playing. Like I felt like he was maybe even a little annoyed at me. So I was very happy to see that he got beaten up on, and it was good that he didn't add him because Minnesota won 5-1, which means, first of all, as far as Edmonton goes, for what it's worth, got to because Mike Smith has been on a hot streak. I was even surprised they gave Koskinen in that game. Yeah, he had a good game previously against Colorado, but yeah, they're going to play Nashville on Thursday, and I think I'm willing to add Mike Smith early for that. Like, I guess he could be injured. I guess actually he's one of those goalies that's more likely to be injured randomly at the last minute than others, but I think it's very likely that Mike Smith will play if you want to get him versus Nashville, and he is on a hot run. Would that be something that you would be interested in, or would you be afraid to grab Mike Smith for that game?
I mean, I don't know about afraid. I don't, Nashville had some times where they were putting up like 5 and 6 goals. That seems to have worn off a little bit. They haven't been quite as lethal on the power play as they had been previously. So I think I would be relatively comfortable with that start. I think that, I think that they'll be able to control the zone a little bit. But, obviously those Preds have been pretty effective lately. Saros got a shutout in his last game. Like all the stuff that was missing when I was still alive with my many Preds has really taken off in this 4-game week where they've had him. So it's been really good.
Yeah, I agree. Like Mikhail Granlund has like been super boring. He's like maybe though that might be the kind of thing where that's led to him being dropped even in your like super deep leagues. And obviously now with a Thursday, Saturday, Sunday, we're just really jumping around because I meant to talk about Minnesota actually. But with Nashville, yeah, maybe Granlund now is dropped, but definitely Ryan Johansen continues to be the stud. Like he scored the overtime winner in their last game. But okay, speaking of, I want to talk about Minnesota, who beat up on Edmonton, specifically Matt Boldy, who was so cold, dropped in a lot of leagues. Now's people's chance to go get Matt Boldy back. He got an assist in that game, but most importantly, he's back on the top power play. I don't know why Minnesota even messed with it. It was going so well. Then randomly they were decided we're going to do 2 defensemen. I guess like Matt Dumba got injured. Maybe that's what triggered them to change it. But I mean, come on. It works so well. Zook, Kaprizov, Boldy, Eriksson Ek. That was crazy how I said Zook before Kaprizov. I should have said Kaprizov first. But yeah, Spurgeon. Those are the 5 players you want. And then obviously also Kevin Fiala, who scored a couple goals. And I think that's your group of Minnesota players that are interesting at the moment. And they all did well. Well, actually, Eriksson Ek maybe is still questionable.
I would say he's kind of a fringe.
Yeah. Ryan Hartman had 2 goals. Also, he's the one on the top line with Zook and Kaprizov.
Yeah, definitely got to look at as well. I think got into a bit of rough stuff with Evander Kane as well. I think he flipped in the bird during that game.
Yeah,
not Brian approved. What I thought was sorry, you go.
I mean, we could both do rants here. I just think it's funny that the NHL is like this, like kind of like a violent game. Like you're allowed to check people. They even allow fights. They let people drop the gloves and then with their bare hands try to punch each other in the face, and no one gets a penalty. Like, well, you get a penalty, but you don't get suspended. You don't get fined, but you show your finger, and that's a fine. Like, who comes up with just like what's allowable in the NHL?
Yeah, we're very much on the same wavelength. I was watching the replay and I thought the funniest thing about it is like the referee sees it and he like looks shocked and like grabs his hand and tries to like, get him, don't do that. You can't make that outward expression. Like they were just punching each other, man. It's like, it's not a big deal. I don't think. I mean, I don't know. Are the children going to be scandalized by seeing a finger after they just watched 2 dudes punch each other in the face? I don't know. I don't understand it either. The reaction was just really funny to me.
Also, like sometimes when they're mic'd up, like they're swearing. Isn't swearing worse than showing a finger? Like if I had a kid, you're the parent, Lewis. Like what's the hierarchy of how mad you get at your kids? If they drop an F-bomb or if they show the middle finger, which one's worse?
I mean, it's exclusively guilt on my end because I know that they got it from me and not from their mother. So I don't know. I would be more upset with the word, I think, because people are more likely to hear it. If they see it, the kid can just be like, oh, I don't know. I saw somebody do it. I don't know what it means. Like, I just think that yeah, it's just silly. It was really silly. And yeah, Brian agrees. The ref reaction was just like so absurd that like the big thing that has to be done right now is we got to get that finger out of sight.
Yeah,
Ridiculous.
make him wear like a glove that you can't move your fingers. Like I don't know. Give him some special equipment as a punishment where you
He
can't
just
move your
has to
thumb.
sit in the box with a sign on him that says, I made an obscene gesture.
There's worse gestures out there.
Oh, yeah.
Anyhow, okay, I should probably move on from that. I guess like Freddie Gaudreau is the other guy. He scored a goal in that game, and he's on the line with. So yeah, there's like a lot of good Minnesota players. They're kind of like Nashville, right? Like they're scoring a lot of goals, and there's a lot of people that you could get excited about. Nashville, actually, Tanner should know. I'm still waiting for him. He got like 8, 9 blocks or something in the last game, so it's giving me like some nice floor of fantasy points. But I'm still waiting for him to get that one goal on one shot, like he tends to do every second game.
Yeah, we're still jumping around a little bit. So I'm going to jump, be in there too. I think we had another like double digit shot game from Yossi too. I think that was who it was. I saw somebody had like 10 shots.
Roman
He's
Josi
just,
is having. Yeah. Do you think he's
he's
going to win
going
the Norris
bonkers.
again?
He should. I think he's going to be too expensive at drafts next year though. I mean, he's not going to pace, I don't think, for 104 points next year. As good as it's been, I guess I talked about this on the last short shifts with Ben, but the big thing would be to see kind of if Forsberg stays in Nashville, because obviously that would be huge for them. It seems like they finally, after years and years and years, have figured out that power play. So maybe I feel a little more confident about Yossi being like a point per game guy if Forsberg stays. But yeah, I just can't see how he's not going to be too expensive for what he's going to produce next year. That's my prediction. It's a sad one because I love Yossi and I was really glad to have him this year. But
No,
yeah,
I think that's reasonable. Like, yeah. Oh, sorry. Continue.
I was just gonna say, I told Dave that was like the one guy that I really, really had to have. I had one forward goalie and D that I really wanted him to draft, like not totally no matter what the price, but as long as it didn't get crazy. And obviously that was something that saved my season. It's keeping me in tier one, even though I can't get past that first round of the playoffs.
Yeah, the Toronto Maple Leafs of Tier One. But
That's
hey,
right.
you're a contender every year.
You
But
know,
yeah, I totally agree with that take. Like in general, in fantasy, defensemen are like less likely to keep up like these amazing seasons every year. Like even Roman Josi a couple seasons ago was amazing, then last year took a step back. So I think like why spend the top like defenseman draft pick on Roman Josi when you can like get just like a next tier guy who maybe could like end up having a season, like he's having right now, or at least somewhat close to it, and you could wait a couple rounds or spend a little less in your auction draft. But
yeah.
who are
Well,
like, yeah, sorry.
I was gonna say because I think people looked at like Makar was far and
Or actually, can you
away.
just like, can you say it, but without starting with what I was gonna say, and I'll put it at a point.
Yeah, I think people looked at Makar as being far away that number one option, and so anybody after Makar, was going to be coming at a bit of a discount. I thought Fox was maybe had shown pretty much what he could do, so I don't think there was any sort of surprises there. So it was a guy that I thought maybe wasn't as likely to get. But yeah, after that Makar tier, I think you had a tier of affordable defensemen who could put up that kind of nice season. I think I ended up, obviously with his performance lately, I think I ended up with a pretty decent deal on McAvoy. I think Yossi went for 34 and McAvoy went for 20. And I think those turned out to be pretty good deals.
Yeah, another guy, by the way, having an amazing season that's maybe getting a little overshadowed, or maybe not, but Victor Hedman, like
Oh
definitely
yeah.
rounds out that triumvirate. Like he's at 68 points in 73 games, so maybe like boring, not over a point per game, like Makar and Yosi. Why would I be interested? But yeah, pretty amazing season for Hedman. Then Fox and Carlson round out the top five in terms of total points. Though Aaron Ekblad was actually right there, 57 points in 61 games before he got injured. So maybe he's like the Roman Yosi for next year. Like, he's not going to go in the top tier because maybe he's not a big of a name, and also he got injured, and so like you look at the totals and they're not as exciting. But I don't see a reason why like Ekblad can't put up Yosi numbers next year. Like the way Florida's offense is so insane.
Yeah, I guess the one thing that I would just be a little more cautious about him is that he might not score as frequently because I think he has some better shooting options. I mean, Duchesne and Forsberg, have been good at, decent shooters, but the rest of that top power play are mostly distributors. And it seems like they're really leaning on Yossi to be a guy who produces a lot of shots either to hit the net and possibly go in or to be deflected. So he seems a little bit more like the center of the offense as opposed to on Florida where there's so much talent. I don't think that Ekblad has kind of the same spotlight maybe that Yossi does.
Yeah, who would have taken the bet that Yossi would have more shots this season than Brady Tkachuk? Right now,
Yeah.
Yossi has one more, it looks like. So we'll
Well,
see who wins that
Brady
again.
sat out a few games, so you got to take
No,
that into
okay,
account.
71. Okay, so 253 shots for Yossi in 71 games and 251 shots for Kachuk in 70 games. So just
Oh,
one
all
fewer
right.
game and two fewer shots. So I guess he probably would have taken more than two shots. So fine. So maybe like Brady's pacing for a little more, but it's
Awfully
close.
damn close though. Let's
Yeah.
give credit where it's due. That's a if you count those peripherals, that's really outstanding production from a defenseman.
So the Avalanche have started their game today against the Kings. They're already up 2-0. I've got Rantanen, so I'm taking a look at the score, being like, all right, let's see what I got here. And zilch from Rantanen, yet Mark's stream of Eric Johnson hit. He got an assist from Eric Johnson. And Bowen Byram, we had someone on Twitter asking which Avs defenseman should he add, like not including Taves or Makar, so basically everyone else was
Gerard,
available.
Byram, Johnson.
Yeah, and I like responded being like I'm not that interested in any of them. And Bowen Byram has 2 assists today, so that person's probably gonna like unsubscribe and unfollow. So really
I mean,
apologize. I hope you grab Byram anyway.
we're all guessing, right? And I agree with you. I think Byram is, a guy who yeah, I would have some trepidation with. Obviously, he's coming back from an injury. He did have that conditioning stint, so he's probably ready to hit the ice running. Like clearly he's playing well. But yeah, it's just a really interesting case. I wonder what's going to happen with Byram over the next few years. Uh, it's just he's got a lot of roadblocks in his way, but he obviously is a really talented guy. How much of a jackpot did Colorado hit getting Devon Taves for basically nothing given his production?
They're smart. Like they're making good moves. They also signed someone today out of the NCAA that apparently is like this like big hit. Like the number one player I saw there was a Peter Harling's prospect rankings, and he was like with a bullet. This guy is like the number one prospect right now coming out of the NCAA. I'm just like scrolling here to remind myself I'm not the biggest prospect guy that I know all these people's names by heart. So great podcast. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna put an edit point. And that could be for the live show, but let me just actually find what his name is. This guy that Colorado just signed. Oh, Ben Meyer. Okay, I got it now. So I'm going to go back from when you said how much of a jackpot. Yeah, speaking of jackpots for Colorado, they just signed this guy Ben Myers out of the NCAA. He was apparently like the top prospect coming out of there. Like Peter Harling dropped a list of the top NCAA prospects, and they were that Myers is like number one with a bullet. So they just keep on getting these gems for nothing to go along with all the players that they're paying for. But yeah, great drafting, and Colorado obviously that'll be pretty good, right? They're going to win the cup. I think, or I mean, obviously we don't know, but they're the favorites to win the cup at the moment, and they still have good young players coming up like Byram and Ben Myers potentially that haven't even like hit their stride yet. Oh, and obviously they're oh man, I'm blowing it today. What's the name of that guy that's on the like third line?
Lekanen?
No, that's like their prospect. Sorry guys, one sec. Newhook, yeah.
Oh, sure.
Oh,
sure.
and of course, yeah, I'll put it. Oh, and of course, Alex Newhook is also someone who's supposed to be really good one day. So this team is, they could maybe lose Nazem Kadri to free agency, though I saw quotes saying that they're going to try to keep him. But like, even if they lose him, it seems like they have a lot of replacements potentially coming up to help.
Yeah, I would like them to keep Kadri just because I spent to get him at the deadline in our keeper league, and his injury obviously meant that he did not do very much for me at all in terms of moving forward. So I almost feel obligated to keep him at this point because of the because of the picks that I spent on him. I have a strategy question for you. Since we were talking about Colorado, you mentioned, got a couple goals. I want to see what Rantanen got for me. Do you think that on a deeper team like Colorado that can score from its second and third lines pretty effectively, does that ever give you pause and make you think that you kind of want a more heavily loaded team where they're going to just rely on one line to score, kind of like they have in Nashville, for instance, since we've been talking about those guys?
It's an interesting question. I mean, like Rantanen is still having an amazing season, so obviously it hasn't affected him too much. But yeah, I guess it could go both ways because also the other team can't put their best defense, against just like one line. And like we're seeing now maybe in New Jersey, like Jesper Bratt, maybe. I mean, I don't know, this is just speculation, right? But like, he's all of a sudden sort of disappeared. Maybe it's just because he's not playing with Jack Hughes. But there's some teams that maybe like it's not great when you only have one line, but obviously some lines are just so good that they could overcome, like that Boston line for years. It's
Yeah.
been so good. So
Just
I'm not sure. I never really thought of it.
it's been something that I've been trying to think about this season just because I had Nathan McKinnon. And so I'm always looking to see those top that top line getting goals. And I just would see, third line goals, fourth line goals. And I'm like, oh, this is lame. Like be like Nashville and just have all the scoring be from the top guys.
I mean, to be fair, I've also had Barkov in the couple, and Florida is super stacked, and he's also still doing fine. So I don't know
Yeah.
if it's something that
They're definitely doing fine, right? I get maybe it's just a psychological thing where I see that goal alert go off and I'm like, oh, these nobodies, that's lame. Just,
Oh,
I only want to see superstars score, please. No schmoles. I'm
I see
not
what
into
you're
it.
saying. You're basically saying, like, since the team scores more goals, then a less percentage of their goals are from their star players than other teams who you have star players
I
on.
guess that is what
Because
I'm saying. That's a good point. Right. It's just more goals overall, maybe. So I shouldn't be so miffed about it. It just isn't in the percentage. The percentages aren't falling where I want them.
right, it's just more disappointment in your life because you're getting more notifications of goals that you've expected to get in
I,
on.
I just want to have that little gambler's rush for a moment, please, when I see that goal thing go up. That's all I crave. That's all I'm living for.
Okay, quick lightning round here because I know you got to go. Okay, Mark Scheifele is injured for Winnipeg. They play still Friday, Saturday this week. I'm not sure if there's any like fantasy impact really to read into. Like Kyle Connor, PLD, and Svechnikov was one line in the last game. Then Stasny with Ehlers and a fellow named Morgan Barron. So I guess there's your fantasy impact because Morgan Barron had a goal and an assist in that game against Montreal. And I guess if he's playing on what's got to be line two, right? Ehlers and Stasny, and maybe even call line one. Ehlers is so amazing. So maybe he's someone that you want to look at in your super deep leagues. I've never heard of him, so I don't have much to say about him at the moment. That's usually
Yeah.
Brian's job.
I think he's the brother of the recently injured Justin Barron. But yeah, for me, the guy I like there is Svechnikov, and Ben's not here to rain on my parade. So I'm gonna say if I'm picking one of those top six from Winnipeg, give me Svechnikov, who also had a goal.
Okay. Yeah, yeah. So also, there's a guy on New Jersey that I wanted to bring up. So this is the part of the show where I bring up players that we had never heard of before. Zetterlund. Do you know this person, Zetterlund, on New Jersey? So he's been playing on a line with Sharon Govich and Heeshear. So Jesper Bratt was even off that line, playing on line with Tatar and Mercer. So another reason to maybe be concerned about Jesper Bratt, not to pile on him, but Sharon Govich, Heeshear, and Zetterlund had a good game for New Jersey in their last outing versus Arizona. Obviously, it helps when you're playing Arizona. They won 6-2, and yeah, the Zetterlund guy had a goal and an assist. He also had 2 assists in the game against Dallas. I think we're looking at a top line guy, second power play, producing. If you're in a deep league, I guess the problem is New Jersey like plays on only busy days. Maybe this is more of like a next week, or who knows like what people's situations are. But definitely someone to have on your radar, maybe someone to consider for next year.
Yeah, I think, and if he's going to be out there with Heeshear, obviously that is to his advantage. I would say that his goal was like 95% Heeshear and 5% him burying it in the back of the net. It was just a really nice play by Heeshear to bring the puck down without high sticking it somehow, even though it kind of looked like a high stick to me. And he just had a really nice feed, right down the Royal Road for Zetterlund to score on. But yeah, I mean, 4 points in 2 games, you said. I think that's pretty exciting production. We're all short term right now. It's that time of the season. So yeah, I think maybe worth a look. Although, as you said, the schedule is not doing anybody any favors.
Yeah, okay, and I'll end with one last cold streak, and then we'll be out the door here on the first ever experimental. Do we have a name for this? Are we just gonna call it short shifts?
Just it's Wednesday night fun times.
I mean, I'm gonna have to post this in the feed. Is that what I'm gonna call it? Wednesday night fun times?
I would make
Okay,
it a short shifts and maybe call it.
Okay, I'll call
give it a silly name. But yeah, this is
Sure.
I mean,
Okay,
this is
so-
a shortish shift.
Yeah, shorter than my normal shows. Anyways, I wanted to go to San Jose. Eric Carlson's letting me down. He's the namesake of our show, but we got to be hard on him when he's not doing well. And I don't know what's going on with the guy. He's playing huge minutes. He played 25 minutes, like in the last game, the previous game, 26 minutes, the game before that. But I'm seeing only 1 assist in his last 4, like 3 assists in his last 8. Like he's just not producing, not shooting as much. Like he was the guy that we were so excited at the start of the year that he was having this like renaissance breakout season. Now it seems to be falling apart. San Jose plays Thursday, Saturday, Sunday, so it's like hard for me to drop him. I was thinking today when I was thinking of adding Duclair, I was looking at maybe dropping Josh Morrissey, who's been so good, but Winnipeg only plays Friday, Saturday. I was thinking, should I drop Morrissey maybe, or maybe should I just drop Carlson because even though he plays one more game, he's not doing anything with it. So I don't know. Do you
Yeah.
think it's just bad luck, or do you think like Carlson's maybe just losing a step, or is
I
San Jose
mean,
just terrible?
I think it's a combination there, right? Like even your solid defensemen who might be pacing for 50 or 60 points, they're going to have a lot of games where they're not going to score, right? I think you preach this level of patience. They can't all be Roman Yossi, getting a goal and 2 assists every game, right? So sometimes you're going to just end up with those empty spots. I don't know. I mean, I haven't been paying a ton of attention to him because he's been owned in all these leagues. Is he shooting still? That's the big thing, right? We love the shots.
Yeah, not really. No,
Yeah.
not doing anything. We're looking at like one or less than one fantasy point per game lately in a lot of
And
his
it's tough
games.
because like there's not a lot to play for San Jose, other than maybe seeing what they've got out of
Kakkonen.
Kakkonen versus Reimer. So yeah, I mean, it doesn't seem like they have a ton to prove or to kind of go out and do. With Doug Wilson stepping down, maybe we're looking at like a real honest to God rebuild in San Jose instead of saying the window has been closing for like a 15 years now, so finally we'll get the rebuild. I don't
It's
know.
kind of odd when you're doing a rebuild that you sign an 8-year contract with Tomas Hertl, but we'll see how that goes.
Well, maybe I don't know. Is that a sign and trade kind of situation? Probably not, I guess, with the price that they paid for him. Yeah, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how things play out there. But yeah, definitely not high on Carlson. And I think if you can get a similar number of games out of, I mean, if you can get 2 forward games, I would take that in a heartbeat over 3 defenseman games, especially from Carlson.
I blew it. Well, we'll see how Declare does and see how bad I feel about missing that stream. But okay, thanks everyone for listening. Hope you enjoyed it. Thanks also to the people who watched live. This has been a lot of fun, and obviously thank you, Lewis, because I just threw this on you today. I was like, kind of want to do this thing. Who's in? You put up your hand, and here we are. We just knocked out a banger of a show. So good job, us.
Yeah, it was fun. Didn't have to do a lot of prep, just kind of jumped in and got to say some ideas. I enjoyed kind of having our send off episode of Short Shifts, but still feel that itch a little bit to kind of jump on and talk about it. It's always fun to chat with you. So lots of fun. Thank you for having me.
You're like a wrestler, right? They have their like retirement matches, but then they always still like have more matches after. Like Mick Foley, how many matches did he have after he had his retirement match against Triple H? Like I feel like he had like a whole career after that.
I do love Mick Foley. And then Stone Cold
All
was
right.
back recently. Anyway, we're getting distracted
Stone Cold
now.
is in WWE again. I've stopped watching at this point.
Oh, he had some big comeback there. This is gonna sound like, I was only half paying attention. I saw it coming up on Twitter because hockey and wrestling Twitter seem to overlap quite a bit. But yeah, he like came back and obviously won some match against, I don't know who, Vince McMahon probably.
Isn't Vince McMahon like 80 years old now?
Yeah, okay, but like,
That doesn't seem like a hard match.
didn't Stone Cold get like
Still good.
horribly injured too? Like, I think it's just good for him to be out there trying some moves. Good on him. Way to get back in the ring.
I'm sure that was an extremely entertaining match of the horribly injured Stone Cold
Versus the extremely old man.
octogenarian. Yeah.
Yeah.
All
I'm
right.
sure people
Well,
loved
see
it.
you everyone. Bye, bye, Lewis.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great night.
Okay. Good
Are we
job.
gonna? We forgot to say if it really was a short shifts, we would have said play smart and keep
Play
your shifts
smart.
short, but it's not really.
Also, we have to like practice what we preach, right? We didn't keep it short,
Right.
so we
We
don't
certainly
deserve to
didn't.
say the line. It's like when Dave in Stream Scheme when he doesn't play the intro music for the ludicrous streamers if they didn't
Oh,
produce
yeah.
well, they don't deserve the theme music.
That's right. You don't get the music.
Is
All
Vince
right,
McMahon really
excellent.
doing matches? Okay, you probably have to go. All right, I can stay here all night, but I should.
I mean, it's fine. I don't like actively have somewhere to be. I just need to like start getting ready for bed and be ready if a toddler starts crying.
Fair. Plus, also you're kind of ill, so I think sleep is usually the best cure for something like that.
But kept it together during the show. Didn't have any hacking coughs.
And how did your Audacity do in the end?
Well, I definitely hear myself still. I just didn't touch anything. I've kept my hands very far away from the mic. As long as I get it in the right position, I just need a new cable. Mine's all worn out. But yeah,
All right,
things seem to be going fine.
All right, please shoot me that